When you think about what happens right now in the crypto space, obviously what's happening in U.S. markets, what's happening with the stronger dollar, all of these things are weighing on sentiment, also the broader questions about China and the energy space as well. Where do you see crypto headed?
So broadly, this is obviously not financial advice, but I think that crypto is tracking with the rest of the markets. Yeah. This is interesting because a few years ago, the thesis was that crypto was acting as a hedge. Today, I believe the correlation is coming from more institutional capital flowing into the space. And in general, risk assets are not performing as well as one would hope at this point in time. But I think it's normal for markets to have downturns and to eventually bounce back, given all of the policy that's happening, particularly in the U.S., as it relates to strengthening the dollar.
Yeah, so what's the biggest hurdle, do you think, at this point for the crypto space? Because I talk about regulation so often with my colleagues back in the U.S., in Washington specifically. You've got to understand this to regulate it, one would hope, but we do understand that policymakers don't necessarily still really understand the space.
I think you hit the nail on the head. It's regulation. So regulation is going to be the biggest factor as it relates to adoption, both from an investor perspective, whether that's institutional or retail, but as well from a corporate perspective to use different technologies to enable Web3 within, for example, things like marketing, things like memberships, things like different business models that could utilize Web3 to enhance their business model.
And what you guys do is provide the services, not necessarily trade the coin.
So it's the infrastructures. So MidChains doesn't necessarily trade itself from ADGM. What we do is...
Bit of a safer bet, that, don't you think?
Yeah. So what we do is provide custody, which is, in my view, one of the most important aspects, particularly as it relates to bringing on institutions, and providing a safe, a fair, and orderly exchange for institutions as well as retail investors to trade.